Yo, what's going on, viewers of the tube? Tyler here, Chico Crypto, sitting here with my good friend Bill Petridis. He's back to go through some code with us. And today we actually have some interesting. We're going through certain exchanges, IEOs. Binance, you guys know. I'm not the biggest fan of Binance, and I'm not the biggest fan of their IEO structured model. There's a lot of tokens going out, but little tokens going to the public. And now we're going to take actually an objective look at these IEOs, their GitHubs, run them through some quality scanning, open source tools, and we're going to see how they scan out. And so Bill is here, and he's savior. Bill, introduce yourself.
Wouldn't call myself that. Should be a pretty quick video. Hi, I'm Bill Petridis. I'm a development operations and release manager. I don't know if you've seen any previous videos with Tyler, but what I do is typically apply the concepts that I use in day-to-day work to crypto projects, and been getting slapped in the face with a lot of, I don't know if anyone's on Twitter, but every time I jumped on Twitter, I was seeing something about an IEO. So got a little bit curious and decided to, like I do, jump into their GitHubs and have a look around and run the ones that I could through some quality scanners and just see what sort of projects they are. I mean, at least at a really basic code quality and practice point of view. This is, by no means a in-depth analysis or anything like that. I'm just sort of take a bit of a surface look and just see what these guys are doing and how much code they've got, what sort of level of quality they're putting into the work that goes into their code repository, and then just run it through some basic scanners and see what I find.
Well, this is going to be good because, one of the things these exchanges say, for one, Binance, about the projects they pick for their IEOs is they're the best projects. They're the most transformative. And you would expect if they are that type of quality, you're going to see that type of quality in their code.
Yeah, and what I found was a bit of a mixed bag. So I guess we can run through it and see. I can share what I find. I'll just preface this. I mean, I've got absolutely no problem with Binance. Actually, I use it a lot. I don't mind the exchange. I actually don't mind the whole IEO concept too.
I mind it.
I know you do.
6% of the tokens going to the public is wrong.
Yeah, I just that part. Well, I don't really have an opinion on, but I like the fact that we're not going to spend the whole year with Ethereum or Neo or whatever getting dumped on.
Getting trashed with ICOs.
Yeah, that was the only bit I didn't like about ICOs. So let me just fire up a screen share, I guess, and we can just go through it. Shouldn't take too long.
Awesome.
Great. Just do a quick callback. I haven't done one of these videos in a while, but just been slapped upside the head so much about these IEOs that I thought I really wanted to have a look. I've just been really busy. I mean, look, a normal code quality process that people would follow, and it's what I follow for work. I mean, it doesn't have to adhere exactly to this, but it's just a general sort of way that you would work on code. So I'll just rehash through this quickly. All the code that for a crypto project or any project really sits in a code repository. For crypto projects, it's mostly GitHub. The way that this works is a person or persons will take the code. They'll work on it on their local computer, ideally, testing as they go. They'll then move it up to a test environment in a crypto project that would probably be a testnet or something like that. Ideally, they would then run what they changed by, like a development lead, somebody that might know a little bit more, who can do a level of quality control. And once they've either approved it and so forth, they'll do what's called a push, which means all the code goes up into the code repository. And then you have a process called continuous integration. And what that does is it actually takes the code that you push in, it compiles it, builds it, tests it, packages it, and reports on the results. Now, there's various tools for doing this. I use Jenkins, but most crypto projects use Travis or Circle CI. They all pretty much do the same thing. The idea with this, is to ensure that the code that's going into the repository is never broken. So then, so if you push code in, it compiles it, it does all the testing, it then, produces a report, and that goes out to the project team. If it breaks, you go back, you can either roll it out or fix it. The idea is that the next guy that grabs the code is working on working code. So that's
not
just
going to have any problems. That's going to slow down development.
No. So that's just a general overview of a process that that should be really adhered to when you're working in a team. Now, so that's the reason why I go and have a look at GitHub, and the level of detail that goes in here is because that's quite important. That gets used by the next developer along the line. Also look at what sort of tools they're using to do this stuff, and if they're not using it themselves, I'll actually run it through those tools myself just to see what it shows me. And really, I just applied that to some of the IEO projects. So let's just run through them, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah, let's check them out.
Cool. Well, I'm using a new browser at the moment. I don't know if you've checked this out, but it's a safety browser.
Is this the Piccio browser?
Yeah. I just started playing around with it. It's pretty cool.
Awesome.
It's a lot more secure. Yeah, it's phishing proof and so forth. So I've only just started using it. So shout out to Jonathan who got me onto this. So I'm quite happy with it. So I'm going to start with a positive one, one that I quite liked. It looks pretty good. I don't want this video to be negative or anything like that. Obviously, I'm completely objective. I'm just calling things as I see them. The first one I looked at was Fetch AI, which was a Binance IEO. Now, there's a few repositories here, but I scanned out the one that was most active.
Ledger. So is that Ledger integration?
Yep. And there's a lot of information. It's more than just Ledger integration, but there is a lot of information here on their GitHub, which I found quite impressive. Really clear notes on how to get going with all this. And I looked at the level of quality in their commits. There's a lot of detail here. These guys are really taking the time to put that detail in. And when there's mergers, that's not a good example, but when there's mergers, it's going through an approval process. Detail's good. I quite like this one, actually. It was one of the better ones I've scanned out. It's written, for the most part, at a code level. It's written in C++, which is a very serious development language. So I was quite happy with the level of commits. I was quite happy with the level of detail and how to get started. Before I scanned it out, I actually even had an issue. So this was quite cool. And I really like this sort of stuff. This is me yesterday.
Oh, you posted this issue.
Yeah, because I was trying to build it out on my computer. So I put the details of what was going on, and literally, just go away. Literally a few hours later, someone actually gave me the answer.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, so that was really encouraging. So I was pretty happy with that, and you don't see that too often.
And he gave you what you needed to help to get it going.
Yeah, he did, because then I was able to scan it. So here's my scanning board. I mean, for anybody, Tyler will probably put the link up here, but this is public.
This link will be in the description, you guys, if you want to come check it out for yourself.
Sure, and I'm always adding things to this. And have a look at it. It scanned out great.
Oh, yeah, 0 bugs.
Yep. So, 123 lines of code. It's quite a large repository. It's C++ and Python, all serious languages. Beautiful. So good work, Fetch AI. Keep it up. So that one, no problems with that one whatsoever. Then it got a bit more interesting.
I bet it did.
So let's just quickly knock off the ones that there's really not much going on. So then I started at the start and worked my way forward. So the first one that they did, the IEO, was Gifto.
Yeah, this one.
And I didn't even bother scanning this because what's the point? I mean, look at the last update.
Yeah, January 2nd, 2018.
So Yeah, I mean this is just a ghost town. I don't know what's going on with this one. There's just nothing in here. Well, there's some stuff in here, but there's nothing in here. Wow, such empty. Yeah, which is quite extraordinary, really. I was a bit disappointed to see that, to tell you the truth. So, Gifto,
to take an objective look, could they be working on the stuff in somewhere else?
Yes, there could be. That's the only other explanation I can come up with, is that they are using a private repository. It's possible. Mm-hmm. The same sort of goes for, look, I mean, there wasn't really much for me to look at here because there's not much for me to look at here. How about this one? Nope, this is nothing here.
So wouldn't you think, though, they do have some stuff it looks like published. I mean, there was updates on it, correct? Don't you think they would have something pushed eventually, within almost 2 years now?
Yeah, so I mean, look, if you are working on a private repository, and a lot of projects do this, right? They'll work on the private repository, and when they get to a certain release point, they'll leverage something public like GitHub to push out their public release. A lot of projects do that, but it just doesn't seem to be the case here.
And you want the stuff. I mean, this is open source project, so you want all the repositories to eventually become public, because how do you know it's safe? How do you know there's no backdoors?
Yeah, I'm not sure the answer to that. So look, this one, I mean, we don't really need to spend much more time here. This is really just not much in here. So I'll just move on from Gifto. There wasn't really much for me to do. The next one that I had a look at was Bittorrent, because it's actually doing really well on a price front. So this is Bittorrent BTT. This is the only repository I could find. And the same sort of thing. I mean, there's very little going on here. I mean, this is a branch, and they're just updating the README. So I don't really know.
Going actually in on code. It looks like merge pull request right there.
Yeah.
So very little going on with actual development.
Well, I actually asked about this, and they did say that they're using a private repository. So that could just very well be the case. So, but they are still updating this, though. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. I mean, they're saying that they're...
what would be interesting to me would be to look how active their GitHub was before Justin Sun took over, and how active it has become after.
Yeah, it was. If you go back, let's go back to their most active one. They're all kind of flat line, to tell you the truth, but and
one thing I've heard too is, I mean, there's only one reason, that your GitHub should be flatlined is, the project or product is so good that it doesn't need any more updating. But how realistic is that? Everything needs continuous improvement and integration.
Yeah, well, one would have thought so. So, I mean, like this one just sort of died in May. And it was a good repository. I mean, there was a lot of detail in here. These guys were, following a pretty strict approval process. A lot of detail was going in. There were merge requests. There was a very, strict approval process that was going through. But I mean, it just sort of seems like that all's kind of dried up in May. So I'm not really sure which repo I should be looking at here. So I kind of asked, and they said, look, it's all private. So,
Well, hopefully when we get some pushes, because they do say, Justin Sun saying they have BTT speed and something else coming out. So hopefully we'll get to see that code here very soon and we can scan it as well.
Yeah, it'd be exciting. I mean, and if you've seen with, I know that we did a Tron video like in November, and I remember we found it was like in the thousands of bugs, and I've been scanning it ever since. And look, I mean, we raised the ticket back then. We said it's probably going to take them something like 400 days worth of effort, split across multiple people, and that seems to have played out quite true. Because if you look at it now, I've been rescanning it, and it's pretty good now.
Yeah, it passed. Nice.
Yeah. So, if I see this stuff, I don't just shit on it. I mean, we raise a ticket, and it looks like they've been working on it. So this has come a long way. So good on them, and I will be more than happy to scan out Bittorrent when we get some some pushes. But at the moment, it really looks like not much is really happening in here. So we'll
see
that one. Yeah, we'll see. Next one was Celer Network. So the reason why I had this up is their most active repository. If you take out the Web3 Swift, which they forked from BankX, now it looks like that they're going to build on top of this, and they've only really done one commit ahead of what BankX is doing, and all they did was just fix the build. So that's the only change they've done from BankX. So it's not really their code yet. I mean, they've branched it, but they haven't, and they've been merging, so they haven't really gone off on much of a tangent here. So I sort of didn't scan that one because it's not really their code.
Yeah.
But the one that I did scan was their SDK, which is here. It's only had 32 commits to date. They do have a build job, which was the part of the diagram I was showing before, which is this bit. So they have that in place. What I did notice though is it's working. So that's a positive. It's mostly the same guy doing the pushes, or at least approving it. So that's a positive for Celer. But a couple things. One thing I did notice is the majority of the code, well, pretty much all the code for this thing is JavaScript. So I don't know if you know JavaScript. I mean, when I was comparing Fetch AI is written in C++. C++ is a very real programming language. JavaScript is built to build. I mean, it's there to run in web browsers. I mean, with some exceptions, but it's really there for user interfaces. It's not particularly used for serious application or middleware layers for the most part. Now, all their code in the most active branch is all JavaScript. Now, the reason why I had the McKinney pump, which is just my bullshit website, which produces bullshit, headlines. This is all written in Java. Yeah, it's just all JavaScript, right? So I had that up because just to show that, there you go, it's official. I had that up just to compare that that's written in JavaScript. And I actually scanned that out as well just to compare it. So it's not. I wouldn't have expected that to be the language you would you'd be building out a serious piece of software with. And there was one other thing too when I grabbed Celer. So I actually followed the build instructions, and I was building it out locally. And this is it here. So when you do an install, which is what it says to do first. Oh, sorry. That's when you're in the right directory. So if you follow the notes, it says do an install, then run the build. So just bear with me here. You can see this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So you're
what this does
actually following instructions to get up basically a node setup.
Yeah. So one thing I did notice here, and I'll get to the scan through Sonar in a sec. Scanned out okay. Yeah, maybe we can jump to that while this does its thing.
Yeah, let's check out the scan.
Yeah, I mean, it scanned out okay. So out of the code, it's 8,500 lines of code, but like I said, it's all front-end code, JavaScript, HTML, style sheets, TypeScript, some XML. There's it was 9 bugs detected. Remediation effort wasn't too bad. Let's just jump into the bugs. Well, you know, it was fairly clean. Couple of days effort to clean that up, so not a big deal. You know, 9 bugs, 101 code smells, but you wouldn't expect to find that many in front end code. I mean, for the most part, I wouldn't have expected so anyway. So it scanned out okay, but I guess the only level of concern I would have with this one was, oh, there you go. So when you actually do the build, you get this. I don't know what the hell that is.
Love parcel. You can now donate to our open collective.
Yeah, and then this, which it actually gets warned about. It won't actually install the dependencies. So if you do an npm audit here on the stuff that they actually tell you to do, yeah, so there's some real problems with the dependencies that they've got in here. This one can lead to a denial of service.
Oh no.
Yeah. You know, this one, you know, you can do code injections. I don't know if you know what that is. It's when you can actually you can actually put your own code into their front end and get it to do what you want it to do rather than what it should be doing.
Whoa.
Yeah, so there's that, yeah, there's a whole bunch of these code injection.
That is scary. Denial of service.
Yeah. And this, I mean, literally all I did here was just follow the instructions and install it the way that they said. And I mean, I don't even know what this love parcel is. And,
Yeah.
actually, I've got some ideas about what a love parcel might be.
Parcel? Because I think that's like a love shipment. It almost sounds like to me.
Maybe, I don't know.
Send me a what are those dildos?
What are those dolls you can buy now?
Oh, sex dolls.
Yeah, but like if you. And then I actually went on those websites and it's like discreet shipping. I mean, how do they get that thing in the house discreetly? I mean, are they bringing it in like a dead body or something?
You know?
Anyway, enough joke. Yeah, so that was my only real concern with this one is just when you do the build. I mean, I don't want this on my computer. I'm going to go ahead and freaking delete it afterwards. Yeah. So that's Celer. So that was Celer. And as you can see with Celer, it's all just JavaScript, HTML, and so forth. Then I looked at, so that's Celer. Then I looked at Matic, and I was really getting slapped upside the head on Twitter about Matic. I don't think anyone that is on Twitter didn't know about Matic. And
yeah, it got shilled to the max.
Well, I'm not sure if it was shilled or everyone was just excited about it.
It was a coordinated chill fest on Twitter. I mean, even on our cryptocurrency. It's crazy. Wow. Every other comment on the daily post was some person talking about Matic, and then once it started gone, they all disappeared.
Yeah. Well, I mean, geez, it pumped. I have some people book some profits. I don't really trade that much, so.
Me either.
I mean, I just sort of buy stuff and sit on it for ages. But so anyway, I was quite curious about this one because it's all I've been hearing about for weeks.
Yeah.
So I scanned out their contracts repository. So just going in here, let's have a look at their build. So
So
this
they're
is
doing a
the,
similar thing as Celer, correct?
yeah. But what I noticed in here is on the dev branch, that's just continuously been broken, and they're still moving ahead with it. So that's a bit
That's
of a
not good.
concern. No. Um, so
So
that's
you
been
guys, red
broken.
means bad. Green means how we saw Celer and it was actually working. That was good.
Yeah, yeah, you want green because what that means is in the build process, it's breaking, here, and but people are still going,
Yeah, so
right?
they're
Which means
pushing
you
it through.
basically, yeah, and you're coding on top of a broken build, which is never recommended. So there was that, which wasn't great. At a commit level, detail not that great. There's a little bit more here. There's some more here. This one was pretty good.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah. So detail was okay. What I've noticed, it's mainly the same two guys. This guy Sheesh and I'm not really sure how they are. I actually looked them up, and they look like they've worked on some decent projects before.
It looks
So
like
he's
he
in
might
there.
have done 0x Ashish.
Yeah, it looks like they've got some guys from other projects. So he's been around, and then there was this guy. Looks like he's been around too. If you click on him, uh,
Looks really young too.
yeah, but he's worked on he's worked on Ethereum stuff before as well. So
Yeah.
look, it may be that these guys are just getting started. Really, it looks like he's worked on Ethereum before at some level. So these guys have been involved in the crypto space for a while, so it could be that they've got a fairly decent team and they might just be getting started. The reason why I say they might just be getting started is because obviously the build's broken. There's not a ton of commits so far. And when I scanned it out, I was really surprised to see, where is it? Okay. Matic contracts, which is that repository, I scanned it out. There's 244 lines of code in it, and it's just
Wow.
JavaScript.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. So as a comparison, I thought just for a laugh, I'd scan out Mankini Pump, which is my bullshit joke site for crypto. You can make the price go up and down. You know, it,
And
it it's just a bullshit it's just a bullshit fun site that I put together just for a laugh. So I scanned that out as well, just to just to compare it. And so Mankini Pump on the lines of code, we've got 5,500 lines of code, CSS, HTML, JavaScript. Matic has got 244 lines of JavaScript. That's it. It scanned out pretty clean, but there's very little in here.
that's concerning because they are supposed to be a coming soon functioning layer 2 plasma whatever sharding solution for Ethereum.
Yeah, maybe they're just using if they were using a private repository, they wouldn't be doing commits. That's a bit that I can't work out. Is when they're I mean,
Yeah,
if
why
you look
would
at
they
the
even
look,
be committing to their public if they're all working on private? That just doesn't make any sense.
no, and if you look at the build job, look, this is happening pretty frequently. So that was 2 hours ago. This stuff is happening. So if there's some other repository, I don't know why they're hitting this one so often. I'll just assume that this is a repository they're using. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So yeah, I was a bit surprised about that one, given its cap and when you just got a handful of guys and the build's broken, it's all written in JavaScript and there's 244 lines of code in there. It's just my bullshit website
Yes, yeah.
has more lines of code, you know.
50 times more code. Or
well, yeah.
25 times more code.
Yeah, look, it's just a bullshit website. You know, a lot of this I use for a framework, but it has more lines of code in it. I mean, so I don't know. Maybe I should. I don't know.
Well, hopefully,
Coin.
The goal of these videos, you guys, isn't to shit on the projects. You know, it is actually, hopefully, we can get some responses from the project teams, and they can, hey, maybe clear up things that we got wrong, and maybe like Tron did, they actually start cleaning up their code.
Yeah, no, it was like I said. I mean, it was definitely not to shit on anything. I mean, look at Tron. It's gotten so much better since we looked at it first in
over 1,000 bugs, I think.
Yeah, it was well over 1,000, and it's really clean now. So you know, good on them. They responded, and that's great. You know, and so I'd be keen to see how these ones progress. So, like I said, I don't really have an opinion on any of them. I'm just
did you get is there anything out on Harmony yet?
Haven't got to that yet, but I did take a brief look at their repository, and that looks like a pretty decent repository from what I saw.
Okay.
So I guess we could probably do a follow-up on where I scanned that. I just didn't get to it.
I would love to, because the Harmony team has actually said on camera, or not on camera, with the chat with another YouTuber, that they were in contact with me for a sponsored video. They're lying. I've never talked to them before in my life.
I couldn't really give a shit if you did.
No, it's just
I don't get involved in YouTube beefs, man.
Leaders are lying. It shows what type of people they are. So I'd love to see if their code is actually coming out like they say they are.
Well, I mean, look, I took
supposedly great.
Yeah, I mean, I took a brief look at their GitHub, and it's. I don't know. It just seems that with these IEOs, they seem to be getting better as they're going along. Like with Fetch, that actually no, Matic came out after Fetch, didn't it?
Matic, yeah, Matic came after Fetch.
Maybe it's just a mixed bag. Look, I don't really know. Yeah, because I mean, Fetch, I was pretty impressed with this, and especially like when I had a problem and they fixed it up for me like in a day. I mean, that's great.
Fetch looks great. The one thing that's bugging me though is it looks like a lot of these are just coming out as nothing. And they're working as a get the money already secured. You know, it's basically an idea, and they don't have, you know, they might have a roadmap and an idea, but they don't have anything built. You know, they're going to build it a year out. It's old ICO hustle, it feels like, but you get less tokens. The public gets less tokens.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really followed the. I mean, you're the economist in this conversation. I'm shit ass with money. That's why. That's why I give that to the lady at the house. She takes care of that. I mean, so. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at the code, man. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I mean, this gives people an insight into things they normally don't see. I mean, a lot of developers, you know, they're actually developing, you know, they don't have YouTube channels and they don't do these type of things. So that you're able to scan these and show, you know, my viewers, as well as any new people who have tuned in for this video, I'm sure everyone's highly appreciative of this, Bill.
No, that's fine, man. I'm happy to do it. Look, I was more curious than anything because, like I said, I've been getting slapped up and they're really in your face about that Matic this week. So I was just like, well, I want to go and have a look at it. So I did. And yeah, I was really, really quite surprised to see that it's that small. So look, if I'm looking at the wrong thing, Matic guys, or, you know, I'm just getting this completely wrong, please just let me know, put it in the comments of the video or whatever, and I'll go look at the right spot.
That's all it is, an objective look at what's actually going on. So, Bill, appreciate you. And, you know, we will be getting together again and doing another one of these videos so we can do updates on everything that we have looked at today.
Sure, and this board's public. I mean, I try to update it whenever I can. So, you know, feel free to go and have a look at it yourselves. You know.
And anyone at home, they can go into the GitHubs too, you know, and see what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd highly recommend. I mean, like the first thing you should really do before you buy any coin is just go and have a look at their GitHub. I mean, it's there. Go and have a look at it. Go and have a look at who's involved. How active they are, all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's I mean, just this is why I'll always hold some Ethereum.
Yeah, Ethereum's GitHub is amazing.
I mean, like this is like art. And we scan that thing. I mean, look,
Yeah, it's perfect.
So freaking busy, this thing, and you look at the level of detail in here. It's like a DevOps manager's wet dream. They've got code coverage reports. It's just.
This is what other projects should be mirroring.
I think any project on Earth should, if they could do it this well, would be just fantastic. I mean, these guys get it. I mean, it's just so much detail in here. I mean, look at all this stuff, and this is a serious project. So you sort of compare that to what you see elsewhere, and that this should be the gold standard. I would say for anybody. So
I'm also interested when Binance Dex code comes out live. That's one we should definitely scan.
I don't know if I want to get involved in all that. Like I said, got no problem with Binance, man. Use it myself.
Hey, well, you shouldn't be. But no, I don't hate on anyone. Do what you want. I mean, but I personally don't like to support shitcoin casinos.
Loud and clear. Yeah, that's it, really. Thanks for your time, man. It's like midnight here, so.
Bill, it's always a pleasure to have you on. We'll be, again, guys, we'll be doing another one soon. I've been meaning to do, more of these, but just channel slammed, man.
Yeah, well, he's almost 1 now. I've got a baby at home, so yeah.
Busy too. And you've been working on some stuff yourself, correct?
Yeah, I have. But more will come out about that when the time is right.
Yep.
Got some pretty exciting stuff in the
pipeline. Maybe we'll have to announce that when we do one of these too. That'd be cool.
Yep. Got to get it working first.
Of course.
Well, it's working. It's just not public yet. So. Yep.
All right, Bill. Well,
it's all good.
Again, thank you, man.
Hey, thank you. And I really enjoyed the whole social experiment video. I thought that was hilarious.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I
was surprised too.
I was totally surprised.
I thought everyone would have just taken the cash, but it's the worm is turning, it would seem.
It would. I mean, I kind of want to do it with equal amounts of cash next time, or cash and crypto, and then actually go out and do it again with, when Bitcoin's at 20,000, when the fire's on and everyone would be taking crypto, I bet you. Yeah,
well, it's when all the mainstream news gets on it, and then then you start, then you go to get your hair cut, and actually, are you going to cut your hair?
Nah, I don't know, man. Yeah, probably actually, because when I'm shooting videos outside and it's windy, the wind's getting in my eyes, and I can't see the camera, and I have to do a cut because of the wind.
You look like a Saint Bernard? Was those dogs?
Yeah, I need to cut it, man.
I put a little thing of rum around your neck.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, cool. All right, man, I'll let you go. It's late here.
All right, dude.
All right, thanks for your time.